Hello and welcome back to the Jiu-Jitsu Oracles IBJJF World Championship Preview Part 2 with Ross and Calum as always, and our very special guest for the preview show, Shay Montague. Shay has topped the podium at the IBJJF Worlds at purple belt and brown belt, and eventually we'll do it at black belt, won't you, Shay?
Actually, I hope so.
Good man. So our first
at least in no-gi, it's a bit easier. No-gi's in the bag for sure.
So our first preview focused on the lighter weights in the male divisions. So we're going to preview the heavier weights in the male divisions and the female divisions at the IBJJF Worlds, where the black belt matches take place on the weekend of June 1 and 2. So let's just dive in to medium heavy in the male division to kick things off. Calum, do you want to give us some of the names that we should look out for in this division, please?
Yeah, so this one's really stacked as well. I think this one's quite interesting because we've got two returning world champions. So on the previous middle heavy champion Gustavo Batista, who won it last year, and then as well we've got the middleweight champion Jansen Gomez moving up. On top of that, we've got former world champion Izaki Baense, as well as some other really big names like Ronaldo Jr., Sebastian Rodriguez, and Manuel Hibamar.
Okay, Shay, do you want to come in with some thoughts on those contenders? And feel free to throw in another one if you've got.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really stacked division. I see this as kind of like a two-horse race probably between Gustavo Batista and Jansen Gomez, with Ronaldo Jr. being the dark horse. He'll obviously be on the same side of the bracket. It's the moment on the same side of the bracket as Gustavo Batista, so I could avoid him to the final. It's a really good division, and really competitive. Like, anyone could win this. Other names I'd like to throw in is like Mateus Spirinaldi from Brazil. He's really good. And there's a few other like Brazilians, sort of like Wellington, Real and stuff that mainly compete in Brazil and only come to America for Worlds, but beat really big names in Brazil and win really big tournaments that could definitely disrupt the division, I think.
Okay. So, if you were leaning one way right now, who would it be for?
Gustavo Batista. I think Gustavo Batista's really good. I think he'll win, He's just so good on top. In the 10-minute match when he gets going on top, it's just, he's unstoppable. The only thing is he's competed less this year than usual. Usually he's very active. And he lost to Anderson recently on BJJ Stars, which is rare to see Gustavo lose too. So maybe the momentum's not in his favour, but I'm still going to pick him and then Jansen second.
Calum?
Yeah, Gustavo as well. I would probably pick him. I think, like, just visually, looks like some of the most brutal passing that we've seen. Definitely like to experience that, just to kind of feel that top game. Was rubbed off on some of the other guys that we've spoken about in this podcast, like his teammate Andy Murasaki has very much based his passing game off of Gustavo, so really like watching him compete. And yeah, I would agree. I think Jansen as well could definitely win this, but I'll go with Gustavo for my pick.
So what's interesting to me is that you guys have both picked Gustavo, and that, totally get it, right? But I'm just going to throw Jansen into the mix here. Now, Jansen's moved up in weight, gone from middleweight to medium heavy, won middleweight last time, beating Tynan. Why do you think he's changed division then? Because originally the thought was, he doesn't want to go against Tynan. That's why he's changed, because, he maybe thought that like beating Tynan again would be really difficult. But now you guys are saying, well, he's going to run into Gustavo Batista and he's going to be an absolute nightmare to beat. So is it just a size thing, do you think, why he's moved division, or do you think there are other reasons?
It's because of money. It's because they want to make the Tynan fight on a super fight, and if they do it at Worlds for free, neither of them can get the paycheck. And he's already lost a medium heavy to Gustavo Batista and stuff, so it doesn't ruin his reputation. What would ruin the ability for that fight to make money is them two facing again at Worlds.
Yeah, this is literally what we spoke about in the last podcast with the Gordon announcement doing ADCC. Same thing with him fighting Marigali. I don't really think they would want to do ADCC because they could probably make a lot of money doing that outside of ADCC. And the same thing we've spoken about with Tynan and Mika as well.
Plus, I've heard from some of the checkmark guys that Leo wants Jansen to get bigger so he can make runs for the absolute.
That makes sense.
Okay, so you guys are favouring Gustavo Batista probably over Jansen Gomez in the final, which would be a battle of two champions from 2023. Just that they won it, Jansen won it in the lighter weight class. Let's go to the heavyweight division. Calum, who do you think's favoured here, please?
Let me just have a look through. So, Adam Wardzinski's had some good performances this year, had a really dominant match against Felipe Andrew, who we thought was going to be in this division, but looking through the list, we cannot see his name. So, Shay, I think you saw an announcement that he was not going to be competing at Worlds, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Don and Kane and Matteo that they put forward for not competing that we would use to see Worlds.
Yeah. So don't know why exactly. Got Roberto Jimenez. That's going to be interesting because he's moved up quite a bit. Let's look at some of the other names. Patrick Gout.
Certainly falls into the disruptor category, Roberto Jimenez, with his style.
Yeah, definitely. I think is Scooby in this division?
I don't have him on my list of picks. On my list of picks, as you're scrolling through, I've got Pedro Machado, the aforementioned Adam Wardzinski, Roberto Jimenez, and Rayron Gracie as well.
Demetrius Sousa's in the division. He's medalled at Worlds a few times and is quite a unit and doesn't come out to compete very often, so people forget about him, but does well every time he competes. And I feel like he'd be more of a challenger than, say, Ron. Yeah.
I do like the use of the word unit on a podcast with Scotsman. So that is a great word that is not used enough outside of these islands, you know. The word unit to describe people. So I'm all for that, Shay. I threw Hayron in because brown belt was, but did he's beaten Felipe Andrew as well, was it?
It was a very strange match where he was getting beaten for like 4 rounds pillar to post and then done crazy throw and took his back. It's like one of those performances that I'd be surprised if it was repeated.
And what about Calum? Have you dug out anyone else for this division?
Elder Cruz could be interesting, could be a bit of a disruptor, but I think we've kind of mentioned the main names. Who are you kind of favouring out of those names, Shay?
Adam or Roberto. If Roberto can pull together like a long run and keep the flashiness going, and he can definitely win, I think. Yeah.
So one interesting talking point off of that I'd like to get your opinion on is like, when do you think is kind of like the peak age to compete as an athlete in jiu-jitsu? Because jiu-jitsu is kind of weird for that, and I think you highlighting those two athletes kind of highlights that. I think Adam Wardzinski is in his early 30s, I think, maybe 33, 34, around about there anyway. And then I think Roberto is about 23, so quite a big gap in that. And I think we see that quite a bit in jiu-jitsu. We see guys that are in their late teens all the way up to early 40s. There's obviously maybe some chemical reasons for that, but I wanted your opinion on what you think is kind of like the peak age in jiu-jitsu, or like things that could affect that.
So I think if we take steroids out of the mix, it depends a lot on the person's style and weight division, because certain attributes decrease first. For instance, Adam Wardzinski isn't known for speed, right? He's got a slow, methodical game and uses quite a lot of like strength, but not speed. Those attributes stay for a long time. Whereas Roberto's very athletic, fast and explosive, and those attributes decrease quicker. So their shelf lives are going to be vastly different, I think, for how long they can compete at the highest levels. And obviously, it's weight division dependent. You have to be less fast the higher you go up, so people can last longer there. And the other thing I think people don't talk about is like mileage on the clock. You see in Nogi a lot of people competing older that didn't start training jiu-jitsu till they're 20, because their body hasn't started to fall apart the same way somebody that's been in a room in Brazil having absolute wars since they were 4 years old, you know? So there's a few factors that go in there. I would say people's peak is usually between the ages of 27 and 31, though. Sort of like career-ruining injuries or like competition burnout, you know?
Yeah, that's kind of the age I thought as well. Kind of aim to get my black belt at 27, then have a good like 4 or 5 years to compete in my prime. So I would agree with that.
He's hinting here, Ross. He's hinting. 27th birthday.
Yeah. My birthday, please. Yeah, that's interesting to get your perspective on that. Kind of those two guys highlighting that. Really enjoyed watching Adam compete, so I hope he does well, and he's one of my favourites for that as well.
Just on Adam, 2 things. One, I love the fact that he utilises a slightly different game to other people, making such great use of like the butterfly, half butterfly for sweep. No, it's not not something we see like massively used, but he uses it exceptionally well. Possibly like the best ever at those sweeps in the gi. And then 2 is like, we touched on this with the roosterweight division. I think Adam's made huge strides in his top game and his ability to consolidate sweeps, but not only like keep the points by pinning, but push on to mount, and he's getting a lot of wins from mounting people as well now. So Shay, what do you think about like the development of Adam's game, where he's now at the place where he's a real contender to win this title?
I was talking to somebody that in Sweden just there who trained with Adam. They said he's like a locomotive train. Once he gets going, he can't be stopped. So he sweeps into a good position and just he grows the momentum, puts more and more pressure, takes more and more space, and you just never get it back. I've seen so many matches where Adam's losing the beginning of the match in the last few years. The most striking example being the Felipe Andrew one. And then he manages to get his position and he just builds momentum and he knows he's going to win when he's there. He's extremely confident. And I think it's more like confidence and surety in his position now. He's been a black belt for a bit longer, more than any development in natural moves. He's doing the same moves he's always done. But now he just knows 100% when he gets there, he's going to buck you up. And then that's Adam's game.
Another question I've got for you off of that. So, like, speaking about Adam kind of getting to his position, getting to mount, and then just being, like, solid from there for the rest of the match, there seems to be a more of an emphasis or more value placed on, like, escaping from bad positions in no-gi compared to the gi. Do you think that is because it's harder to escape these positions like side-controlled back and mount when someone is wearing a gi and there's more friction and more grips to control them? Or do you think it's the fact that gi is almost always in a point setting, and if you've been like passed and mounted, your odds of like recovering a win from that situation when you're down so many points is quite dire compared to a lot of the no-gi rule set?
I think it's a mixture of both. I think what you said there is the perfect summation of it, and both of those come into it. You have collar chokes on the back in the gi, which makes escaping the back way, way harder. And also, like, it's very rare you see a match where somebody gets past or has about taking wins even if they escape. So I think people have both these like facts in their brain.
Yeah.
Okay, mentioning Adam, I want you to consider, are we going to see a Brazilian clean sweep at the IBJJF Worlds, or can someone non-Brazilian take one of the titles, and is Adam one of the likeliest of the non-Brazilians to do that? What do you think?
It's interesting because for this division, both the people that I think could win are Brazilians, my 2 favourites. But
Who's your second favourite there, Shane? Sorry?
Roberto Jimenez.
Oh, of course, yeah.
But I think it's way less assured. If Fionn was competing, we would definitely have not Brazilian clean sweep. But Fionn's not competing, so it's way more likely that we do.
Do you have insight to why she isn't competing? Is she focusing on ADCC later in the summer?
No special insight, but I imagine she's had a busy schedule of super fights that probably paying her quite a lot of money, and she wants to win ADCC and have more super fights, I imagine.
Okay.
So what do we think? Yes to a Brazilian clean sweep, or no?
I'll go with no. I think someone can pull it off.
Sure.
I'm also going to just put a hopeful no out there. I don't know how much I believe it, but I want it to be true. As much as I love Brazil, I absolutely love Brazil, but it'd be nice for at least a little bit of diversity.
Yeah, I agree. And I think this might be the division that does it. So, because as we move up, super heavy, I've got one name on my list who I think is going to take this title. Calum, can you guess who it is? Well, you've gone muted. So, either you you're quickly looking up your computer to see who's in the division.
Yeah, so my guess for who your name is Erich Munis for sure. I'll have a quick scan through the division for the rest of the guys, but whoever is in it, I think he is going to be a clear favourite for that division.
Shay, anyone else?
No, just this Erich Munis show. Maybe if his brother makes it to the final, his brother closes out of it and gets the medal. But like, I think that Erich is definitely going to be the guy to beat it.
So we absolutely love Erich's game, and we've talked about it before on the pod. It sounds that you're in a similar wavelength. So why do you like watching Erich Munis, Shay?
Wow, he's so good. He moves so well. Like, he moves like a smaller guy. Like, he has very flexible guards. He's very relaxed when he competes. In a division where people seem to be way less relaxed than when you get down there, but he's so relaxed, so chill, and he's always smiling, happy. You know, just fantastic guy. Plus, have you seen the videos where he can put his legs behind his head and put his arms through them? Same thing that I can do, but he's like 100 kilograms.
On my phone,
Crazy.
flat, so that's crazy. You can do that at that size.
If you want to earn Shay's respect, guys, stick your legs behind your head, put your arms through. You'll be a legend.
If you can't do that, just bleach your hair. That's like second best, you know?
Or grow a tash. Calum, out of those three things, what are you most likely to achieve?
I do the 2 legs behind. I can't do the arms, so I don't know if I
You
get
can't grow a tash. So
hair. Afraid.
right. Here's one. Erich Munis currently got 3 titles to his name. If he succeeds in the weight class, goes up to 4. If he wins the absolute, it'll go to 5. Right? Now, I think once you hit 5, you're getting into proper, like, legend status. So, off the top of your head, Calum, Shay, can you tell me who Erich would join if he has 5 titles? I have a few names written down.
Cabrinha.
Angelo.
Cabrinha. I think Leandro has...
Five or-
Well, yeah. Okay. 5 and 5 alone. So, there's obviously, like, loads of guys who are, like, ahead of 5. But just the guys who have 5. So, Callum's got Cabrinha. Well done.
Marcelo.
Marcelo, 2.
How many did Rodolfo get?
Rodolfo's in there.
Okay.
Man, you're on fire. You're reading this off your computer.
That's it. That's all I have.
Hey, can you guess any of the other ones? Not to put you on the spot too much, but just a bit of fun.
I can't think of any. I imagine there's a woman in there somewhere.
I don't have a woman. I don't know whether the list I checked was just focusing on the male divisions. But the one woman who we're going to come on and talk about, Gabi Pessanha, she's sitting at 6 just now. So she's over the threshold. Yes, spoiler alert, guys. We'll get onto that. Anyway, the other guys I've written down are Saulo Ribeiro, Romulo Barral, and Robson Moura, all sitting on 5 world titles. So if Erich gets into that, pardon?
How many gi world titles did Andre Galvao have? Did he not have? Was that 4 or 5?
Well, he don't have 5 according to the list I looked at. But if you want to, but we'll come back to it in the future. I might have missed it out, but I had a quick look at guys who had 5 because I saw Erich could get there. Do you think Erich's going to win the absolute as well, Shay?
He would be my favourite again. Let's have a quick look at. Yeah, Erich or Gutenberg, but
Okay.
I could choose Erich over Gutenberg.
Okay, so you've mentioned Gutenberg. He's in the ultra heavy. I would say the other contenders, Yatan Bueno might.
He beat Gutenberg recently, right?
And I like Sheto Lidvo as thrown in a bit of a, like you mentioned before, it's nice to see guys from other areas of the world doing well. So I'd like to see him do a deep run in the division.
I like
You're
him. I
smiling.
was training with him last week, and I got to see him roll with Blair, and I absolutely destroy him. So he's one of my favourite humans now. Anyone that batters Blair in front of me gets bonus points.
Do you want to enlighten anyone who doesn't know Blair Shay as to who he is?
He's
and why we're
like
saying that?
Scottish Jiu-Jitsu's most hated man because he's permanently really wide and rude to everybody. So he's both simultaneously my best student and my least favourite human. So I like him to win, but suffer as much on the way.
With Erich kind of being the man at this weight class and potentially even in the absolute for years to come, what do you think someone would have to bring to the table, like stylistically and maybe physically, to beat him?
I think it's like, it seems like with him the matches often end in street battles where people manage to beat him. So like unless you're ridiculously good at passing, it's like a sort of style of guard that people that are big haven't seen, because you're not rolling with other big people that are as flexible as me. So you have to be able to be swept and sweep back, I think. I think the person that beat him will be somebody with a similar style of him, and you'll also almost have like a rooster weight match at the bigger weights. Somebody comes up in the advantage, they sweep each other. So it'll probably be some athlete right now that's smaller and will get unexpectedly large for whatever reasons, and manages to retain their flexibility. Will be the sort of person to beat him, I think. Or Victor Hugo. No, Victor Hugo's not competing.
Yeah. I was thinking like a guy maybe like Buchecha, who's just like absolutely enormous in the absolute divisions and then moves really well, and then Victor Hugo somewhat falls in that category as well. So Again, I don't know if it's because of ADCC that he's not doing Worlds this year. I don't know if you have any insight into why he's not doing some of the gi competitions.
He's got who's number one like at the end of the month, so maybe getting paid a lot of money for that and doesn't want to risk getting injured.
Sure.
And a bit of a shame that like Victor Hugo's not in there. Medigali's not competing. You know, sort of some of the absolute.
I think Erigali might struggle with drug tests.
Well, I think Medigali might struggle with his displeasure at the IBJJF as well.
That too.
So, but yeah, bit of a shame that we don't have like some of the guys who are at the elite level in. But I think Erich Munis' favourite to win super heavy. And then can we just narrow down the ultra heavy? Have you got one guy you think's going to come out on top there, Shay?
You talked on both of them, Yatten Bueno and Guttenberg. I see there being like a 2-horse race between them. Cheto was a nice wild card there. But unfortunately, he did have a match with Guttenberg at Pans and it didn't really go to plan. So I'm going to pick those two.
Calum?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, good.
I think it's interesting, before we get on the women, there's like a storyline for this Worlds, is it's very bottom heavy. Like this, most of the big names that exist at the higher weights actually aren't competing. I don't know if this is because people around Gordon Ryan and Meregali size have so many opportunities to compete in like the circular rotation of no-gi competitions where they make a lot of money. But it seems that a lot of the former world champions that are still in an age where they could compete and win are not in the tournament, you know, which is interesting. So it seems that the money of no-gi has, not for the smaller people, but for the bigger people, led to a drain of some of the talent from Worlds.
Although
That's interesting.
at the lighter weight classes, you've still got guys like Pato and Mika who are...
Yeah, it doesn't seem to have happened below... It's just above medium heavyweight. I don't know if it's like the Gordon effect where everyone's chasing matches with him and like Nicky Rod and stuff, and there's not so many of them, so that they all actually get an opportunity to face these people. You see that they all face in the rotation, essentially. I don't know if that's it, but just above medium heavy, there's been a big drain. Below medium heavy is one of the most stacked worlds I think we've ever seen. Maybe not like ever. There's a few people missing, like Diego Hayes, Miram's moving up, but every other division I think is ridiculously stacked.
Do you think there's a market for some more gi super fight shows like we've talked about? Tynan having like 2 really big potential matches with Jansen and Mika. Doesn't really seem like there's that much urgency to make these kind of matches. You think there's a bit of a gap in the market and something that we could see more that would kind of bring in a lot of money? Obviously, it's still a big thing in Brazil and still fans of the gi in other parts of the world as well.
Yeah, I think in Brazil, the BJJ Stars is doing that. We're going to have the BJJ Stars tournaments and stuff, and there's lots of money being pumped into that. ADXC is starting to do it a bit. I think people would be interested if you had the right matches. But I think we're seeing a split geographically between the content that people want to consume, which seems to be based along the lines of it's not based on people say they like no-gi more or they like gi more. People like the discipline that people from their part of the world do well. This is what I've noticed.
Yeah, that's a good take. So in Europe, what do we like, Shane?
In the countries where,
in
the UK, we like no-gi because everyone here is fucking shit in the gi. But like, say you go to like the Scandinavian countries where they have good gi athletes, you go to most gyms there and they're basically essentially gi only. So I think it really relates to where you have athletes to look up to. Younger people look up to athletes and try and replicate them and then just parrot their views, which is why athletes openly saying they're on steroids is a horrendous thing for sport, in my opinion. But yeah.
I suppose like culturally as well, like the gi in Brazil's been a bigger deal than in America, where it's got more of a wrestling base and people are more used to seeing guys grapple without kimonos on. And I wonder the UK as well, like we've had a stronger history of catch as catch can wrestling, so maybe guys just like identify with that a bit more than wearing gis, which seems a bit more sort of like Asian martial arts style. Does the clothing matter?
No, jiu-jitsu is jiu-jitsu. I like them both. And everyone that could win in both would do both. This is my opinion. People just like to wimp out.
She build on that, right? Because I tend to agree, but it is a hot topic in jiu-jitsu. So you think that it's all this? Well, not necessarily it's all the same, but like the greats do both, and you can do both.
Yeah, I think even if you prefer one over the other, if with the time that you have to train, you could be world class in both, you would just to win, because winning's nice, right? Who doesn't like winning? So like the people, like I don't mind the people that like switch to nogi and like it's because I don't think I would with my time would have been able to win in the gi, and I prefer nogi, so I've chose to put my time into that. That's fair enough. The people that say that they could be good in both will only do one are full of shit, I think, because if you could, you would. Just to shut people up. Just even if it's just to shut people up and be like, I fucking told you so, you would.
Yeah, and do you think you see less of like the no-gi athletes jumping into the gi rather than vice versa, just because there's a lot more intricacies to learn in the gi?
Yeah, I think that I have two opinions on this, right? So first, I think you have to, the gi's way more close, matches are closer. It can make it more competitive and you have way more problems to go through. And two, to be good in the gi, you have to be way more of an independent learner, I think, short of being at one of these teams, because there's not the same proliferation of instructionals and stuff. Whereas as soon as somebody does something in no-gi because a person that doesn't speak English, they release an instructional. So you don't have to figure shit out yourself. So a lot of people that are not the best at like problem solving, but quite natural athletes can go to no-gi and do well easily because all the information's available to them, and then they can put their athletic talents to use. For us in the gi, you have to watch matches and study it. Nobody's releasing instructionals on single leg X Spider or the new version of barrel ballers. Everybody needs to know. You have to work that shit out yourself, you know, which makes it way harder, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. No-gi is a bit more of my focus these days, but when gi was my focus, I found there's very few guys that put out good instructional content in the gi, whereas there's like a complete abundance of that in no-gi, so that's an interesting point for that.
Jay, there's a marketplace for you, man. Become the gi header.
And how to like bring your knees to your chest, my two skills.
Just while we're talking about the gi, Calum, you wanted to touch on a couple of the rule changes that we're seeing in the IBJJF and how it might affect the tournament. So I think the big ones that we'd noticed were 50-50 lapel, much stricter rules on stalling around about that, and then ankle locks being able to rotate side to side. So Shay, can we get your thoughts on that? And then you've got another one I think you want to throw into the mix as well.
So the 50-50 lapel one I don't think will change too much because people can still go 50-50. They'll just find ways to do other grips that are just as powerful. So I think we'll see the same use of 50-50. And, you know, the only way that it'll cause some issues is if someone forgets about the rule and loses because of it and gets upset.
So it's basically the ref's going to clamp down a lot more on stalling in 50-50 where you're using the lapel and you've got, 20 seconds to move?
Or the back of the belt grip cheek.
Okay. So they're going to be very strict on giving you, 20 seconds?
Yeah, but I've seen matches where people unlock the 50-50 and they pass the lapel and one leg's still over, but the other's like in like almost like the baby ball hook position, and they're just doing everything but there, and the lapel keeps you locked in the same way. I think this is like a good move to stop people just holding this position when they like sweep and stuff, because people used to sweep and hold the grip, because then they knew if they got swept back, they still had the grip. But I don't think it's going to change the outcome of too many matches. The internal rotation of the foot lock, I think, will stop some people being DQ'd. Because over the years, Kennedy got DQ'd last year, Hashimoto got DQ'd, a few people got DQ'd for like borderline inside twisting, so it's just going to stop matches ending disappointingly where someone turns in for a split second without even realising and loses. But again, like I don't think you're going to see any more ankle lock finishes really. People in Worlds, they're going to let their feet break before they tap, like all high level jiu-jitsu, that's what happens. So like it's going to be just as rare to see those finishes. You know, the people that are already good at them that can break feet will keep doing them, and nobody new's suddenly going to be good at ankle locks. The one that makes the biggest difference for me, and this one wasn't touched on, is now if you put in a hook to attack the back and you started on bottom, you don't lose your ability to sweep. Previously then, if the person, once you put the hook in, fell to bottom, you would just have an advantage and then they'd be playing guard without you having your 2 points, which meant that people could then sweep back despite essentially being swept and win the match. Whereas now, if you attack somebody's back and then the person falls to bottom, you get the advantage and the 2 points, which means you won't see these strange matches where somebody kind of wins despite losing. And it means this is a big important rule change in my opinion for the right person winning the matches.
Calum, what are your takes on those rules?
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I just wanted your opinion on like the first kind of one. With lapel and maybe some other positions that people use to kind of kill time in a match. Another one that came to mind was like just kind of hold and double lasso for extended periods of time without going to anything else. How do you feel like those things should be addressed within the rules to make gi jiu-jitsu more exciting to watch?
I think they should just give stalling calls willy-nilly. Like because it's obvious when people are stalling, and as soon as you're stalling, they should just give you a stalling call. I don't think trying to address individual positions is the answer, because every position can be used defensively or offensively, you know? And I don't think banning a position, I think banning a position is anti-sport. If a position is powerful, people should be able to use it, you know? But I think what you need to do is just penalise people for stalling as soon as they're stalling. Instead, now people 20 seconds, you have to really look like you're stalling, or like the close guard situation where they always penalise both people. Even if it's obvious that one person is the one hugging the body and the other's actually challenging moves, just give out stalling calls when people are actually stalling. Don't give them a warning, don't give them anything, just fire the stalling call straight away. That's the answer, in my opinion, not attacking positions.
What do you think about the Abu Dhabi grappling and their strictness on stalling? Because I think they're ahead on the IBJJF in terms of...
no, theirs is the worst by a country mile.
Because they seem very...
20-second thing. They give you the 20-second thing instantly, and then you just spaz out, and then they remove it. So you can just never get caught for stalling. If you get caught for stalling there, you're stupid. Because like say you're in close guard and you're not trying to escape, they give you 20 seconds, you stand up once, and then they remove the timer, you fall back down, and you go back to stalling the whole match.
I agree on what you're getting on there. Like, people will game the system, and I think you should then find a way of punishing people that are gaming the system. I like the fact that like they seem much quicker on starting the clock. But yeah, I tend to agree there that if people are engaging the system, that's not good.
Instead of starting the clock, they should just give a penalty.
If you know they've started the 20 seconds at all.
No, they've started the clock because they've noticed that you're stalling. If you're stalling, you should get a penalty. That's like, this would make people... Because if you know the moment you even look like you're stalling, you're going to get called, it's not even going to enter your brain as a thing to do. This year's there's far too much leniency now, you know?
And as an athlete, you'd be cool with that if like you were competing and all of a sudden the ref's just gone, you're stalling, penalty. You think, well, okay, I just have to eat that one.
Yeah.
I wasn't given a warning.
Yeah, I don't mind at all, because it's fair if they do that to everyone, as long as it's not like favoritism. Plus, my game isn't really based on stalling or lapel 50-50, so fuck everybody who's this, and that can it can benefit me.
The one thing I think about the lapel 50 as well, Calum, I'll let you come in a sec, but like, I don't think weaving the lapel between legs and stuff like that is in the spirit of the game. You know, it's like, just, I don't think you should be allowed to put it there. I think why? It's just the way like the gi's designed for taking advantage of the clothing. I think it's ridiculous. Like, you shouldn't be able to touch it.
Just inogi.
Like, because there are rules on like what you can do with like someone's belt or whatever, you know. So it's like, or where you can grip inside the gi. So I just don't know why like we've got rules like that. So we do have some rules around about the clothing, but then like these things that exist where like it creates stalling in the sport, and like the sport has to remember, and I think this is where American sports excel. It's like, it's sports entertainment first. Like, when you're putting on events that you want people to come and see, you want athletes to be able to earn money from it, etc. It's like, it has to be interesting. And like, if there's like use of a garment that totally like slows down a situation, and there's no real like, I don't think there's any like real benefit to it other than like stalling, really, or like slowing down a position. So I just think it should be out.
I have an opinion on this. Nobody's going to want to watch jiu-jitsu that doesn't do jiu-jitsu, right? Because it's a fucking strange looking sport, right? It's not like American football that you can get into it. I honestly think they try and say, they always like, oh, we'll make jiu-jitsu successful for people who don't do jiu-jitsu. The way you make more people want to watch jiu-jitsu is you get more kids and young people involved in jiu-jitsu. And then when they start doing lapel guard and appreciate lapel guard, they won't mind it, you know? I don't like the whole it's too powerful thing, but that's just the nature of the game, you know? It's like saying that somebody should be allowed to defend in football.
No, it's like, it's too powerful to me. It's too boring. So it's like, there's currently like talk in rugby, like, do they take the scrum out of the game? Which is like a huge component of the game, but it's become so dull watching like resets to try and make it a fair scrum that works, that it's just like killing time in the sport and it's turning people off. And what I would say is like, my thing on your point about like getting more people to watch, I find it hard to get people who do jiu-jitsu to watch jiu-jitsu. Like, the amount of people in our gym that's going to take an active interest in the IBJJF Worlds is like a tiny percent of like the people that are in training.
You don't even need to watch it, you just need to watch Instagram clips, you know, and engage with it. But I think that's because like all the gyms where there's an ethos of competition, everyone's super excited for the IBJJF Worlds, you know? So I think it's just you need to find a way to get people into competing at a younger age, go over there and experience it, try their own hand at it, and then they'll watch it, you know? This is my opinion. I think the way to get people to watch jiu-jitsu is to make people do jiu-jitsu. Like, there's loads of boring sports. People watch the London Marathon, for God's sake, you know? Because they run and they can understand that it's hard and they can get a little bit invested in it over the course of it. Like, I think for watching IBJJF Worlds, what's exciting to me is not necessarily individual matches. There's loads of matches that will be exciting, but it's the storylines. I'm invested in the storylines and stuff. And the storylines come out in tournaments, and even if someone wins in a boring way, there's a storyline. If Kennedy had won all his matches and he'd won those 3 Grand Slams, every single one of them was super boring, you'd still be interested to see if he could win Worlds because of the storyline. So it's getting people invested in the storyline, and that comes through them being invested in the sport, and that comes through training.
I totally agree that storyline narrative is a huge factor in sport, and that's what we're trying to do on this podcast, is like dive into the storylines, the macro around the jiu-jitsu rather than the minutiae of it all. Calum,
Yeah.
I think you've been wanting to come in.
No, I was enjoying that conversation. I agree with what Shay.
Well, that's nice.
People watching the sport when they're into it, and I think like American collegiate wrestling is like quite a big thing, but I think that's just because so many people do wrestling in America. It's obviously in school programs and college programs, and I think that is the vast majority of the fan base. I was trying to think back to what my question was going to be, and I can't quite remember, so we'll leave that for now.
Well, we're talking about 50-50 lapel.
Yeah.
Jogs your memory. No? Okay, so, yeah. Let's make jiu-jitsu exciting. Can we all agree on that?
Yep.
Good. Right. Now, have we reached the end of the male divisions? Yes, we have.
Yeah.
And I think, as well, we touched on the absolute. So let's start a dive into the female divisions. And talking of storylines, Shay, what is the big narrative around the female divisions?
Gabi Pessanha, most dominant athlete in jiu-jitsu history ever, the only person to win multiple double Grand Slams, if my brain's correct, and she's on for her 4th in a row. Totally unstoppable. The dominant force, you know? So, like, that's the big storyline. But I think it's, like, almost an unexciting storyline because it's just going to happen.
Well, I'd say there's 2 things there. So it's like, one, you have to watch, because if it doesn't happen, it would be absolutely historic if anyone beats Gabi given her current form. But 2, like, we all appreciate greatness. So I think, like, when you're watching teams go on to, like, stack up multiple titles, like, it's still exciting in a way because, like, you want to watch it when it happens. You want to say, like, oh, I was in that era when I got to see this dominant athlete in their pride do this to people. So I'm excited to see Gabi. Like, if she makes it 8 titles, having won double gold the last 3 IBJJF World Championship events, and adds another double gold this time around. Like that to me is worth seeing, because it's just like such a historic achievement that I want to be part of it.
Obviously she's a super dominant athlete in her weight class and in the female divisions, but do you think that as the sport progresses and more female athletes get into the sport and fill out some of these divisions, that we're less likely to get such a dominant athlete? Because I'm looking at her division right now for her weight class, and there's only 6 athletes signed up at the moment.
I was thinking this, that in, like, the female divisions, it seems to be that you have one dominant athlete. There's, like, every generation. Like, it seems less uncommon than it is in the male divisions, at least for the absolute. Not in the lower weight classes where there's more people, but you've had Gabi Garcia, you had Tani Porforio, now you've got Gabi Pessanha. So, like, it seems like one of these people that's, like, kind of much larger than the other women, but still athletic, comes along and is able to dominate for a while. But hopefully that changes. I mean, when you go to gyms now, you see more and more women. I've got visits in gyms in Europe, and, like, there's almost 50-50 split. But so, like, it seems to be growing. I think women's jiu-jitsu is the next thing to really explode.
Okay, so we have Gabi favoured to win her super heavy weight class and the absolute, correct?
Yeah.
Anyone who can give her a good go, or are we thinking she's just going to, like, dominate her way to both titles?
There's always Yara. Yara is her biggest rival. Despite Yara, I don't know if she has won a match against Gabi in an IBJJF tournament, but they do have closest matches. Though, the matches seem to have been getting less closer over time. I don't know if it's the consistently losing to Gabi has actually made Yara downhearted, or if Gabi's just progressing at a faster rate. Because I remember at brown belt, Yara actually beat Gabi. They split weight class and open weight. But since then, I'm not sure what's happened. Maybe once at an AJP tournament. But I think other than that, like, Gabi's won everyone. So she's the main rival. She always is. But I imagine she'll play the bridesmaid again.
Okay. Calum, anyone of note, or do you think it's Gabi's to lose?
Yeah, I think it's Gabi's to lose. Be surprised if any give her a good match.
Okay, so let's run through some of the other female divisions. Now, I think there's a couple of divisions where I've got a couple of contenders who I'm looking to make the final, and there's a couple of divisions where I think there's probably one person who's going to do it. So starting in the rooster weight, Shay, your weight class, but on the male side, but like, you know, who do you think is going to come out on top in the rooster weight on the females?
The other great generational key talent in female jiu-jitsu right now, that's Maisa Bastos. I feel like she's equally as great as Gabi Pessanha and beautiful to watch. Like, every time you see her do jiu-jitsu, it's fantastic. So I think she's going to win. It's just strange. We were talking about this before the podcast. There's another rooster weight from the same team, Shelby Murphy, who's won all 3 majors, right? So
yeah, she was on for the Grand Slam. Yes.
So it's very strange that she's not in the tournament. Maybe she's injured, who knows? But we'd be in the same division with Maisa dropping down for this tournament. They would have been able to close out, or maybe because you can't close out in the, in the IBJJF Worlds anymore, maybe Maisa just batters Shelby in training, and since she's dropped down, Shelby can't be asked to enter in to lose. Who knows?
So what's going to happen with that, though, if 2 guys from the same team get to the final? Can they make them compete against each other?
I don't know if they can make them compete against you, but you don't get, like, the points, and you don't get the money. It's this hidden money.
Ah, right. Okay.
For the Worlds. Now it's like 10 grand. It's the same as the World Pro. But they just don't advertise it because obviously money, and lots of those people probably not allow too much money for sports when they're in America, so it's coming.
Right, okay. So, no Shelby, unfortunately, but Mayasa Bastos favoured to win. I think she's won 4 previous titles. Shay's nodding.
Sounds right.
Yeah.
I in my head it could have been 5, but we've discovered she's not one of the 5.
No, I didn't. No, what I said, like, I wasn't certain that the list that I looked at had female competitors in it. It might just have been male competitors of, like, the guys, the people.
4 sounds right, though. I feel like I've seen that on Instagram post.
Okay. Calum, anyone else in the run-in here?
No, but I completely agree with what Shay said with Maisa being like another super dominant athlete. And like we spoke about in the last podcast when we were kind of comparing some of the GOATs, I think it's worthy to take into consideration that when you're comparing like world titles or titles in any event, some of the guys in the smaller weight classes will have less titles just because it's not realistic for them to win the absolute division. So when you kind of consider it like that, she's like very much up there with Gabi Pessanha.
Okay. So, moving up, light feather. Do you guys have any contenders for me? I have a couple written down as you quickly scan your computers. So, and you'll have to bear with my pronunciation, but I think Tamaris Aquino and Jessica Dantas, doing my research before it, seemed to be the 2 that might come out on top. Although, in fairness, they're not people that I've watched extensively. I was just looking at comp records, etc., as to like who might come out on top of this division. It's not one of my strong suits, the female light featherweight division. So, is there anyone that jumps out to either of you guys?
Brenda Larissa, Fabricio Andre's girlfriend, is also really good. She's usually beats everyone in that division other than Maisa. So now that Maisa's not in the tournament, she might have a better chance at winning. And there's former world champion, also a famous jiu-jitsu person's wife, and that's Amanda Montero Canuto. She might be 2-time world champion, but she's had a baby, hasn't had the same competition success since she's come back from pregnancy, but maybe this is the year she returns to her past glory.
Okay. Shay, you've gone dark again.
Oh. Back?
And he's back.
So weird it does that. Like, I just have to press the thumbs up button.
Yeah. I'm not sure how it works. I don't mess it. I I'm not one of these guys that's going about. Calum will know better. He loves tabbing about the place. Why does it do that, Calum?
Yeah, I'm not too sure.
Right, okay. Featherweight. A couple of contenders on my list. Anna Rodriguez and Margot Cicerelli. What about you guys? Look at the smoothness of this operation.
Natalie Ribeiro as well.
Okay, so Shay, talk us through some of these players, please.
Well, Anna Rodriguez has won a lot, wins almost everything. She is brilliant. And then Margot is kind of, well, from every area of the world. She seems to be European, Asian, American.
Citizen of the world.
Yeah, but she's upcoming. She won ADCC trials recently. She's dropped down a weight class and been doing very well since she joined AOJ in the IBJJF tournament. She had a match against Anna Rodriguez last year at Worlds where she got royally screwed over and should have won. So, yeah, it's like it was probably she one of those two winning, you know. But Natalie Ribeiro or Tata from Chetmat, fantastic athlete, has done really, really well. One of the last women to beat Fionn in the gi, actually. You know, so she's a fantastic athlete too. So she could definitely disrupt that 2-horse race there.
What do you think, Calum? Anyone else?
Yeah, Anna Rodriguez, been another pretty dominant female athlete. Margot have been doing really well recently, and we'll see how the AOJ effect affects her chance of winning this division.
Plus the Dima effect.
Yeah.
Because previous to her ADCC success, we'd noticed like she'd been working on her wrestling and improving her stand-up game. So I know it's not guaranteed that it'll be.
I actually heard through the grapevine that last year before Jansen faced Tainen, Dima sent Jansen a text saying, "Don't feel God, you'll be able to do well if you go on top."
Bit of goss from Shay there. Right, moving on. Let's go to middle. Who have you guys got for this? I believe there's. I've missed out the light.
Yeah.
Haven't I? Okay, I'll edit that. Moving on, lightweight. Who have you got? I like the look of Brianna St. Marie in this division. I think she's been competing well. Shay, have you got anyone else you want to throw in?
Luisa Montero, another generational female athlete. I imagine her gi game would be a bit too short for Brianna, but who knows, maybe the new generation comes through and shocks me.
No, it's good. Like, I like watching Brianna compete. She's been competing well recently, but why do you think Louisa is like so strong in this division?
Man, Louise is such a good athlete. She doesn't compete as much anymore, so people kind of forget about her, you know? But, like, she's always been super dominant in this division for years. She's got wins over people like Fionn again, Mackenzie Dern. She's been around for years. And she's got a really good spider guard game. She's really good on top. She's obviously learned some passing from Gustavo because those two are together. Yeah, she's a handful for anyone. You never see anyone, like, dominate her and do really well against her. So I see her as a favourite in the division. Brianna's an athlete I really like, by the way. I think she's really good gi and no gi, but just I can't go past Louisa.
Calum, have you got anyone to throw in there?
No, nothing to add on to that.
Okay. What about middle? There's someone who's on for a Grand Slam, I believe, in Talita Silva. So she's my favourite to win, given how she's performed at the other majors this year. But Shay, you might be able to enlighten me as to other contenders here in
this division that I actually don't know what about.
Same. So I'm just going based on form that, you know, she can win in the majors.
Seems like a good guess. I'm going to also pick Talita now.
And Calum?
Yeah, I'll stick with that.
Okay. Right. What about middle heavy? Right. It's not the deepest division. And I believe Amy Campo's in it. And she's a champion from last year. So, like, I'm only leaning towards her based on that. But I haven't seen her compete in the gi loads over the past 12 months. So, I don't know if she's the one to pick or whether there's someone else that's more active on the gi scene that can take the title. Shay, what do you think?
These guys, Tamara Silva is really good. She's been around for a while and always gives people lots of trouble. And the Dream Art lady, Isadora, is also very good. I don't know how they perform this year, but like they are good people. I don't know how they all stack up against each other in the competition, but I know those two are very good athletes.
So it could be a bit of a pick'em division,
Yeah.
like we saw with the featherweight and the males. Someone's going to come out of like a smaller group, but like a group of people to take the crown. But yeah, it's another division that I'm not too aware of, so looking forward to learn more about it in the world. And it's the same with female heavyweight. All I know is Melissa Stricker is the reigning champ, so I've got her in as the favourite to win this time around. But I'm not au fait with any of the other contenders in the division. Shay, if you are able to enlighten us as to anyone who might come through and take the crown, please do.
Larissa Diaz is a former world champion. I think she won in her rookie year in 2022. So she's always a contender in that division again. An interesting division in this is so small that like you're not going to have many matches. So I think a big factor here is if someone has a hard first round match and somebody subs somebody in like 10 seconds, you can have completely different levels of fatigue in the final.
Okay. Cal, have you got anything to add on the heavier, well, not the heaviest female division, but the ones that we've just touched on that are above the middleweight barrier?
Yeah, for me, not the divisions I'm the most familiar with either, so I will stick with Shay's picks for that.
If in doubt, go with Shay. It's a strong
Blind leading the blind here, I think.
So we've been through all of the divisions, male and female, including the absolutes, because we figure that Gabi Pessanha is going to win the female absolute, right? And we've touched on some of the storylines that we're going to be looking out for at the Worlds. Is there anything else you want to mention about this event as we reach a conclusion of our second preview show that we should be looking out for? Shay?
No, I think we covered it all well, you know, just excited every time Worlds comes around, it's exciting, you know.